At 0814 hours local time, 3 Sea Baby naval surface drones bob in the choppy waters of the Black Sea. They have just sailed 300 kilometers in absolute radio silence, slipping past Russian patrol boats and threading the needle through dense minefields to reach this exact coordinate. They are sitting exactly 30 kilometers off the western coast of the Crimean Peninsula. Their objective is the Belbek Air Base, one of the most heavily defended pieces of real estate on the planet. Bolted above the deck of the lead boat, a makeshift launch rail points skyward toward the morning sun. With a sharp hiss of compressed air, the first aerial attack drone shoots off the rail, but it is not flying free. Behind it, a high-tech spool begins to unwind at breakneck speed. This is not a standard radio-controlled weapon. It is tethered by a continuous strand of fiber-optic cable, an umbilical cord of glass that is thinner than a human hair connecting the flying drone directly back to the naval surface boat. There are no radio frequencies to intercept, no satellite uplinks to jam, and no global positioning system signals to block. To the highly sophisticated Russian electronic warfare battalions sitting on the shoreline, this incoming drone does not exist. It is an absolute ghost in the electromagnetic spectrum, flying completely blind to their multi-million-dollar listening posts while transmitting a flawless video feed. Before we continue, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. 500 kilometers away, buried deep inside a reinforced concrete bunker beneath the streets of Kyiv, a drone operator stares intently at his monitor. The video feed travels instantly from his controller up to a low Earth orbit satellite network, bounces down to the Sea Baby boat bobbing in the Black Sea, and then races up the physical glass cable directly into the flying drone. There is zero latency, zero lag, and zero pixelation. A swarm of 12 identical drones rises from the boats in rapid succession, banking hard toward the Crimean coastline. The target is only a few minutes of flight time away, but those minutes are a tightrope walk over an active volcano. The operator adjusts his headset, squinting against the sharp glare of the ultra-high-definition video feeding back from the lead drone's nose camera. The sandy beaches of Crimea appear on the horizon, bathed in crisp morning sunlight. The operator mutters under his breath, repeating a single golden rule of this new era of warfare: do not break the thread. If the mother boat pitches too violently and the ocean swells, or if the drone operator pulls too many gravitational forces in a sharp turn, the brittle glass cable will snap under the tension. If that happens, the feed goes permanently black, and the weapon becomes an uncontrolled piece of falling plastic. They are executing a highly coordinated suicide mission while holding onto a 30-kilometer leash at highway speeds. Flying at 140 kilometers per hour, the swarm crosses the beachhead in a low-level formation. It is 0816 hours when the Russian air defense network finally wakes up. A massive Nebo early warning radar system, slowly rotating its multi-story antenna over the airfield, detects 12 faint anomalies hiding within the clutter of the ocean waves. The Russian operator sitting in the command vehicle does not hesitate for a second. He slams the engagement button on the Krasukha electronic warfare system. This heavy truck is essentially a microwave oven on steroids, a multi-million-dollar jamming suite specifically designed to fry standard aviation circuits and sever global positioning links within a radius of 400 kilometers. The Russian officer cranks the interference emitters to maximum power, fully expecting the 12 anomalous dots to drop from the sky like swatted flies. He watches the radar scope, counting the seconds. 3 seconds pass, then 5, then 10. The 12 drones continue to advance in a perfectly straight line, completely unperturbed by the invisible wall of electromagnetic energy slamming into them. The Russian generals built their entire defensive doctrine around radio interference, but they forgot one crucial detail about physics. Fiber-optic cables do not transport electricity or radio waves, they transport photons of light through a closed loop of glass. It is physically impossible to jam a beam of light using a radio wave. The Russian electronic warfare officer is bombarding the airspace with enough raw microwave energy to knock out the civilian power grid across half of Crimea, but his efforts are completely useless against a piece of string. At 0817 hours, the Russian command realizes their electronic magic has failed, and they pivot instantly to brute force kinetic intercepts. The vaunted S-400 surface-to-air missile system attempts to lock onto the incoming swarm, but the targeting software refuses to authorize a launch. The Ukrainian drones are hugging the terrain so tightly that the advanced radar processors categorize them as sea foam or flocks of low-flying birds. The master computer decides that a $2 million hypersonic interceptor is not worth spending on a seagull. That is exactly why the base perimeter is guarded by the Pantsir system. The Pantsir gunner manually overrides his tracking radar and switches over to the optical camera feed. Through the lens, he sees the black dots screaming toward the runway at 140 kilometers per hour. He grips the manual firing yoke and squeezes the trigger. The twin 30mm automatic cannons spit a continuous tongue of fire into the morning sky. A solid wall of heavy tungsten lead, firing at 5,000 rounds per minute, rises to meet the incoming swarm. Deep inside the bunker in Kyiv, the high-definition monitor for drone number 4 suddenly explodes into a burst of static snow. It is a direct kinetic impact. Pantsir cannons have drawn first blood. Immediately, the operator flying drone number 5 attempts to violently dodge the incoming streams of glowing tracer rounds by snapping into a sharp left banking maneuver. It is a fatal miscalculation. Dragging a physical cable that is nearly 30 kilometers long creates a brutal amount of dead weight and aerodynamic drag. When the drone rotates into the evasive turn, the lateral tension instantly exceeds the tensile braking limit of the fragile fiber-optic strand. With a sickening digital snap, the screen for drone number 5 instantly goes completely black. The operator curses loudly, slamming his fist against the desk as the realization sets in. They have lost 2 drones in a matter of seconds. The initial shock value of the invisible approach has completely evaporated, and their perfectly planned infiltration mission is rapidly crumbling just 5 kilometers from the edge of the Russian runway. At 0818 hours, the 10 surviving drones cross the final tree line, skimming mere meters above the uppermost branches. The airspace over Crimea has now transformed into an electromagnetic hellscape, with every Russian jammer screaming at maximum output on all available frequencies. The Russian Pol-21 electronic warfare transmitters are saturating the spectrum with so much artificial noise that a $2 million Tomahawk cruise missile would plummet into a chicken farm completely confused by the scrambled data. But the Ukrainian operators sitting inside the bunker in Kyiv do not rely on satellite positioning to find their targets. They rely on their own eyes. The lead operator grips his controller with sweating palms and navigates entirely by visual landmarks, tracking the asphalt ribbon of the M18 highway and banking sharply left at a civilian petrol station. It is the ultimate technological irony. The Russian military is burning millions of watts of raw power to blind a supercomputer, and the Ukrainians are bypassing the entire defensive net by reading the ground like they are looking for a residential address on a street map. But this is not a casual Sunday drive. They are racing at 150 kilometers per hour through an invisible and unforgiving obstacle course. If the trailing fiber-optic strand brushes against a high-voltage power line, catches on a stray tree branch, or even strikes an unfortunate bird in midair, the mission instantly terminates. They are dragging a physical tether 30 kilometers long that cannot touch a single solid object while flying at highway speeds. Exactly 1 minute later, the massive Nebo early warning radar finally rises above the tree line on the horizon. The Nebo radar is an imposing and highly valuable structure, a 10-meter rotating metal grid designed to track atmospheric threats at extreme ranges. It is an asset valued at roughly $100 million, and right now it is completely defenseless against a low-flying piece of plastic. The operator piloting drone number 6 does not hesitate for a fraction of a second, shoving his control stick forward and sending the aerial vehicle into a steep, unrecoverable dive directly toward the massive antenna grid. The hollow charge warhead detonates upon impact, instantly converting its shaped copper cone into a superheated jet of molten metal that slices through the delicate tracking electronics like a hot knife through butter. The $100 million strategic asset is instantly reduced to smoking, twisted scrap metal. At 0820 hours, with the primary surveillance network completely blinded, the vaunted S-400 anti-aircraft system is severely crippled, but it is not entirely dead. Its localized brain, the highly advanced 92N6 Gravestone fire control radar, frantically spins its phased array panels, searching for the agile killers that just dismantled its larger siblings. Knowing this $30 million piece of hardware is too valuable to lose, the Russian garrison has desperately applied the absolute latest in defensive technology, literally covering the sensitive radar array with layers of green camouflage and heavy fishing nets. From the air, the multi-million-dollar Gravestone radar is supposed to look exactly like a harmless pile of garbage or a large, overgrown bush. It is a brilliant and highly effective visual deception strategy, assuming the enemy is fighting a war in 1945. The camera feed from drone number 8 pans across the military maneuvering yard, emerging through the thick black smoke of the previous explosion. The operator in Kyiv clicks a single button, swapping the optical feed over to the thermal imaging spectrum, and the Russian deception immediately falls apart. High-powered radar electronics generate a massive amount of internal heat, and beneath the layers of insulated netting, the gravestone radar glows a bright, blinding white on the thermal monitor. It looks exactly like a fully lit toaster, wrapped in a heavy thermal blanket. The operator points the nose down, accelerating to 150 kilometers per hour. Heavy anti-drone netting stands absolutely no chance against a 40-kilogram projectile packed solid with military-grade explosives. Drone number 8 easily punches clean through the mesh netting at 0821 hours. The explosive payload detonates fractions of a second later, completely eviscerating the sophisticated radar from the inside out. But the Ukrainian luck finally runs dry. 400 meters away, the highly alert gunner of the active Pantsir system tracks the movement. He has a perfectly unobstructed line of sight. The twin cannons of the Pantsir system roar to life, and this time they are not firing a wide suppression pattern. They are executing a concentrated precision strike. Inside the bunker in Kyiv, the high-definition monitor for drone number 9 flashes violently red and immediately dies. Less than 1 second later, the video feed for drone number 10 begins spinning wildly out of control as a barrage of 30mm rounds violently shears off its right wing. There are only 2 drones left in the air, and they have not even reached the parked aircraft yet. At 0822 hours, the Pantsir platform is fully functioning as a highly lethal, bad-tempered machine, armed with 12 hypersonic interceptor missiles and rapid-fire cannons. Its commander locks the primary tracking radar onto drone number 11, which is desperately trying to use the thick smoke from the destroyed S-400 site as visual cover. With a deafening roar that rattles the concrete tarmac, a 57 E-6 interceptor missile blasts out of its launch tube, accelerating to Mach 3 in barely 2 seconds. It is a sleek, $150,000 pencil of death screaming through the air to swat a cheap piece of plastic. The Ukrainian operator sees the massive launch flash in stunning 4K resolution and violently yanks his control stick to the right. The Ukrainian drone responds instantly thanks to the speed of light traveling through the fiber optics, completely bypassing the agonizing lag of traditional radio control. Performing a brutal aerodynamic turn, practically scraping the ground, the massive Russian interceptor missile attempts to correct its flight path to follow the tiny target. Its heavy control fins groan against the laws of physics, but the missile fails to compensate for the extreme angle and whizzes past the drone with just 3 meters of clearance, detonating harmlessly into an empty concrete hangar. The shock wave violently shakes the camera lens, but the resilient glass cable holds its integrity. The drone operator realizes he has successfully crossed an invisible threshold known as the minimum arming distance. High-velocity anti-aircraft missiles require roughly 1,200 meters of flight time to fully arm their explosive warheads. If an aircraft manages to slip inside that protective bubble, the hypersonic missile is nothing more than a very fast, entirely harmless metal tube. The Russian commander sitting inside the truck instantly recognizes his fatal tactical error and abandons the missile interface, frantically grabbing the manual joystick for the twin 30mm cannons. Drone number 11 throws itself forward in a straight line, accelerating directly toward the armored cab of the truck in a desperate bid to neutralize the air defense threat. But the unforgiving mathematics of ballistics are entirely on the side of the Russian gunner. The twin cannons spit out a continuous 2-meter tongue of white-hot fire, and heavy tracers fill the entire screen inside the bunker in Kyiv. It is an impenetrable wall of lead that is physically impossible to evade at such close range. Exactly 400 meters from the point of impact, the high-definition video feed of drone number 11 completely disintegrates into static. The Pantsir system has just crushed the incoming drone in midair as if it were a fragile child's toy. The most devastating reality for the Ukrainian assault team is that the hostile truck remains completely intact, its search radars still spinning and its heavy cannons smoking, actively hunting for the next target. The squad leader stares at the lone remaining monitor for drone number 12, stating in a dry, hollow voice that they have only one left. The situation has rapidly degraded from highly difficult to practically impossible. The final surviving drone must navigate over the burning wreckage of its squad mates, bypass the most lethal air defense asset on the Crimean Peninsula, and locate the primary target. Suddenly, directly in the middle of the main tarmac, the ultimate prize appears. Despite the base sirens wailing for 10 straight minutes, a massive MiG-31 Foxhound interceptor remains parked completely in the open, begging to be destroyed. Just 800 meters away from the incoming drone, the Russian pilot sitting inside the cockpit of the $50 million interceptor is living through his own personal nightmare. He has received frantic orders for an immediate emergency takeoff to save the strategic aircraft, but starting a massive Cold War-era beast is an agonizingly slow process. The twin Soloviev D-30 turbofan engines require a full 90 seconds just to spool up from a cold start to bare minimum operating power. If a pilot attempts to rush the delicate sequence, it causes a catastrophic compressor stall, unburned aviation fuel builds up inside the chambers, and the entire engine violently explodes before the aircraft moves a single inch. Looking out through the canopy, the pilot sees the black silhouette of the 12th drone rapidly approaching low over the runway, knowing exactly what kind of lethal payload it carries. The desperate pilot finally feels the massive turbofan engines reach the absolute minimum threshold for rolling power. The shaped hollow charge activates instantly, collapsing its copper cone into a superheated jet of plasma traveling at 8,000 meters per second. It does not hit the thickest armor of the cockpit, but strikes precisely at the vulnerable wing root where the massive aviation fuel tanks bolt directly to the central fuselage. The initial internal explosion is deceptively small, but milliseconds later, 15 tons of highly combustible jet fuel simultaneously ignite, consuming the entire aircraft.